Hi everybody, my name is Jim and welcome back to another episode of The Lake Effect Gardener. Usually my Saturday videos will take place in the garden, but alas, we're back here in the kitchen because it's my first week back to school, my first full week back to school, and it's just everything's been really busy, and I haven't had a huge amount of time to get into the garden, take care of stuff. I have been taking care of other things around the house, things that just need to get done, and I did do a little bit of a clean out of my garage as well because I have firewood that's going to be delivered pretty soon. So I thought this would be a really useful video, albeit not really in the garden. So, and it has to do with tomatoes again. I know, but there's just so much you can do with them, right? So I've shown you how to can them. I've shown you how to save the seed, and now I'm going to be showing you one last thing. At least I think it's one last thing. But before I talk about that, I would like to take a moment and show you a lovely little gift that was sent to me by the lovely Nancy, who is from Iowa, and she sent me this really thoughtful gift with a lovely note in the mail. I'm not going to read it, but when I did my initial canning video, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me show you first what she got me. She's been leaving really amazing comments and making suggestions and things like that, and when I did my soap video for my very first Make Do Monday, okay, a long time ago, when I did my soap video, she had made a comment about, making yourself or getting yourself a mesh bag so that you can, instead of, saving your soap in large containers like I do and then melting them together, you could, if you have a little bit of a mesh bag, you can just stick the slivers of soap in there and continuously use them. So she was very thoughtful and sent me this lovely little mesh bag, okay? And it's 100% organic cotton, and it's got a little drawstring here. Okay, isn't that cute? So I can leave this hanging in my shower, and when I get down to those little slivers, I can just pop them right in here until I've got a really, good chunk of soap in there. Then I can just pull the drawstring and get cleaning. So thank you so much, Nancy. That was very thoughtful of you. And I'm dedicating this particular video to you because this video is about something that you had mentioned to me in another comment when I was canning my tomatoes. So she had said to me, instead of throwing your skins out into the compost, you can actually use the skins. And you can dry the skins and turn them into a powder. So, of course, immediately when she had posted that, I thought to myself, gosh darn it, I didn't really think about that. I could have used the peels, but I had never heard of such a thing before, so it wasn't forefront in my mind. So I had to do another huge batch of tomatoes. So, and I'm continuously, there is still more out there. I have a big pile of tomatoes right next to me here on the table that were green, that had fallen off the plants, that I'm ripening here, and there are plenty more on the plants. So I think I've got one more big canning session to do. This latest one, I happened to get 12 quarts. So if I were to go by that, I have 25 pints and now 14 quarts of crushed tomatoes, with more to come. But this time, I thought, by golly, I'm going to do a little research and I'm going to give it a go. So I did keep my peels, and there's a lot of them, okay? I made sure to take the nicest looking ones, okay? Some of the tomatoes that I did process had some bruises on them. I was cutting around them, etc., etc. So there isn't anything in the way of bruising on these skins. They're looking very, very nice, and you know, really, really nice color. So I researched it, and oh my goodness, dead easy, super, super easy, okay? The only thing that you're going to need is an oven, which I hope we all have. Unless you want to use a dehydrator, I would research that. I don't have a dehydrator. I am using the oven. You're going to need some baking sheets and some parchment. Now, I also read that you can also use those silicone mats, okay? I don't have anything that fancy schmancy or newfangled. I'm an old-fashioned dude, so I've got myself some parchment on these, and it's super, super simple. All you need to do is take your skins and arrange them flat, okay, on your parchment. Give them a little bit of room to breathe. They can be a little bit on the close side, okay? I wouldn't suggest overlapping them, only because that's going to cause extra moisture to hold on. You really want these skins to have space so that they all will dry evenly. It's a very, very, very slow process, okay? It's going to be taking at least a couple of hours to do these. Now, I've got a big Mamacita bucket of them here, so I'm going to be doing 2 trays of tomato skins at a time, because that's all my adorable little vintage oven will accommodate at the moment. I could use my handy dandy Westinghouse roaster for these. I actually have 2 of them. But I'm not in a huge rush, and I don't have a flat pan that fits that roaster. It's not a standard, you couldn't fit one of these sheet trays in there. They just won't fit. I could use a smaller pan, but part of me I don't know. I just don't kind of want to be bothered. I want to take my time, enjoy the process, and then I can do these in batches. It's not that big of a deal. So you can see, I hope you guys can see this. Okay, there is space between this. And let me just explain how this will work, okay? We are essentially dehydrating these skins. Okay, we are drying them out until they are crispy, and super dry. This is so amazing to me. Like, I can't believe, I've been canning tomatoes for years and never, ever, ever thought that I could just use these. These always went into the compost heap, which, you know, fine, you can do that. Why am I using parchment? Or why would you use any type of layer underneath it? Apparently, if you don't use parchment or the silicone mat underneath this, they can stick, okay? Which, you know, we're doing this out of convenience more than anything. If they stick, you're gonna have a harder time getting them up. You basically just want these to fall right off the pan. All right. Yeah, there's gonna be several batches. Now, these peels are a couple days old. I made sure that once I was done taking all the peels off, that I gave them a really, really, really good rinse. All right, they were in a colander. I rinsed the bejiggers out of them to make sure that there wasn't any of that, you know, tomato slime or goop. And gave them a really, really good drain. So these are kind of falling apart. Not falling apart, but like they're not sticking together. That's what I'm looking for. We don't want them to fall apart just yet. But they're not sticking together, and they're not slimy, and they've actually kept for a couple days. So this is a good project to get on with. Maybe if you're doing some house cleaning or something along that. You know, you're in your house doing things. And you can just set these up, throw them in the oven for a couple of hours, and then you've got these dried tomato skins. So, what can you do with these dried tomato skins? Once they are completely crispy and have absolutely no moisture in them, you can put them in a food processor, or they suggest like a coffee grinder. I have both of those things. And actually, I suppose a third method could be also to use like a NutriBullet or a Ninja or a one of those magic bullet eviscerators. And it turns this lovely stuff into a powder. And the powder can be used in all sorts of stuff. Anything you want to flavor with tomato, like you would use for a normal spice. Okay, if you're or an herb or anything like that, to add that tomato taste, you're also going to be adding the wonderful nutrients that are in tomato skins. Okay, there's all sorts of, I mean, I don't have them at the top of my head. There's antioxidants, there's lycopene, there's quercetin, there's all sorts of really valuable things that are in the actual skins that it horrifies me to this point that I have been tossing out this like nutrition into the compost pile. Now I know the compost is going to need a little love, obviously. You need some fresh in there, you want to build that up. But if I can use this in soups and in stews and in casseroles and gravies and things like that, oh my gosh. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So that's going to be the plan. And I'm really, really excited about that. All right, I'm just about done with the first batch. Now, before I even got started doing this, I made sure to preheat my oven. Now, my oven is a bit of an old lady, okay? It's not as precise as these newfangled, convection ovens and things like that. So I do have a kind of like a thermometer in there. I'm going for around 190 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. You don't want it to be really, really, really warm because you'll potentially burn the skins. And you just want to dry them out. That's all you want to do. I wonder how these would be like as like tomato chips or crisps. I also read that you could possibly constitute the powder once it's done with a little bit of water, and it's like the same thing as tomato paste. I don't know. This is a brand new journey for me, so I'm still kind of navigating my way through what it could be used for, but it seems as though there are a lot of things. All right, I have 2 trays of tomato skins. I still have a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop these in the oven. All right. I'm going to try to get all of these dried off. I'm probably going to have a costume change. This is going to take me a few days to get through all of this. So I will come back once everything is dried, show you what we got, and then I'll show you how to process it into a powder. So let's head over to the stove so I can give you the proverbial, look, I'm putting it in the stove. This is a live presentation. All right, come on, let's go over there. According to my little dial here, it says 200 degrees. I'm even going to turn it down just a little bit. My hands are still goopy from, well, not goopy, but they've got tomato all over them. Okay, it's a pretty warm oven. It's not hot. Oops. Okay, so now 2 to 5 hours. That's what the little webby sites that I used, I mean, most of the websites that I've looked at have said between 2 and 5 hours, but definitely keep an eye on them, okay? Some recipes tell you that you can flip them. I think that the heat is low enough in here that I'm not gonna need to do that. But just the same, I will keep an eye on them. And if they start looking, you know, a little bit too crispy on the top, they start to change colors dramatically into something unsavory, then I will, you know, I will do what I need to do. So, we're gonna fast forward to sometime in the future when all the skins are done, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I'm going to process these. Welcome back. So, different day, different outfit. I did manage to finish all of the drying, and I've gotten a pretty big container. Ooh! I've gotten a pretty big container of these tomato skins, okay, tomato peels. So it took maybe about an hour per batch, okay, and that's because I laid them out completely flat. They dried really quickly. So the, you know, 2 to 5 hours, I think may have been, you know, stated in some of the websites that I looked at only because those were for the people who were just kind of, you know, glopping them on, you know, all willy-nilly on these trays without separating them and flattening and things like that. So, I mean, yeah, they're really, really thin, and they're very, very, can you hear that? They're very papery. They smell amazing. Absolutely amazing. They smell like sun-dried tomatoes. And they were very pleasant, filling the whole kitchen full of this smell. It was actually a really nice, thing to have in the kitchen while I was, just doing whatever. Had that smell of tomato just wafting through the house. Okay, so I really don't know how many I have here. I have quite a bit. Remember, they're all rather flat, so to have this big of a container where everything's flat, you can imagine how many I have. Okay, so the next step is we need to grind these down. Now, I just thought as a matter of experiment, I had mentioned earlier in the video that there are several different pieces of technology, appliances, that's the word. Several pieces, of appliance that you can use to grind these down. I had mentioned a food processor, a NutriBullet, or a Ninja, or a Magic Bullet, or a coffee grinder. So I have 2 out of those 3 things. I've got this food processor that was a gift to my grandmother for when she retired. So this was way back in, 81, 82, maybe. It's got, this fine faux wood grain on it. It was very popular. And then I've got a Magic Bullet. Okay, so I thought that I would give them both a try and see which works better. Now, from what I have read, is that the food processor does chop the skins down relatively well, but it doesn't turn it into a powder. Okay, whereas something like this Magic Bullet or the like does. Okay, so I'm going to swing you up top, and we're just going to do a little experiment and see which one does better. Now, if the food processor does, not a powdery job that I want, I can always just flip that into the Magic Bullet. That is, if the Magic Bullet does turn it into a powder, I've yet to find out. So let's take a look at how this is going to work. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to load both of these with some of these tomato peels. All right, just arrange them. I can't believe they're really like dried flower petals. That's how light they are. Okay. I'll do the same. This, and I'm not going to pack these in really, really tight. Give that a twist. Okay, this is the part that's going to be really, really loud, I believe. So If you want to turn down the volume, be my guest, or perhaps I'll just do it in the video itself. So here we go. Food processor first. Let's take a look at what these are looking like. Okay, so yeah, it's broken it down quite a bit, but you can see it's still rather large flakes. Okay. Now I suppose I could keep this on longer and see if it breaks down more, but I'm really super curious about this. So let's try out the magic bullet and see how this goes. All right, this is definitely a lot smaller. But is it as fine as I want it to be? No, we want this to be a powder. So, I'm gonna try this a little bit longer. Yeah, you know what? It's not looking as though it's getting turned into any more of a powder than it was before. It's looking rather the same. As it happens, I totally forgot that I have a coffee grinder, an electric coffee grinder that my father loaned to me, and I have not returned it yet. Sorry, Dad. But I'm thrilled to bits that I have it, because I'm going to give it a go with this. Now, I think what I'll do, just for the sake of doing it, is I'm going to take my pre-ground, so I may have to do this in steps, my pre-ground skins here from the Magic Bullet. All right. And then give this a go, and we'll see what happens. All right. All right, moment of truth. Let's see how this goes here. Yeah. Still the same. I wonder if it's because these still need to dry more? I don't know. They're really, really super crispy. I have no idea. Very interesting. Well, I suppose I can continue drying these. And then what we can do is we can come back and take a look. When I do more drying, I will start refilming, and we'll see if that helps any. I don't know. Suggestions, people. I mean, it's not a powder. It's almost like if you buy crushed red pepper from the store. They're flakes. So, but I really want this to be a powder. So I'm going to go ahead and continue drying these so that they are really super, super duper dry. But honestly, like, I don't know, guys. They are super dry already. Okay, let's come back to this after I continue drying these, and then hopefully we will be able to, you know, have better results. I really want this to be a powder. Okay, so just as before I finish drying this for a second time, I want to explain exactly what I did. This could differ for anybody who is doing this, depending on, I really don't think, okay, I don't think that they were as dry as they could be. I don't know. I've never done this before. So that being said, if you have a dehydrator, or you know, you keep them in your oven for like 12 hours and they pretty much disintegrate, that's probably something useful, you know, for me to know in the future. But just because, you know, we're doing this together, essentially, what I did was started with the food processor, okay? Then I put it into the magic bullet to make it even smaller, and then I put it in the coffee grinder to get it into flakes. And that's where I am right now. This is where, you know what, I can actually feel like there's a little bit of moisture here. So I didn't dry them out as well as could be. So, you know, if you get them really, really super dry, you don't have to do all these steps. But like I said, I'm learning as I go. So these need to dry even more. And once they are really, really, really dry, or as dry as I think that they will possibly get, then I think I'm going to just use the coffee grinder as the final step. So I'm going to get these dried up, and then we can get these into the coffee grinder and see if it will actually turn into a powder, because the powder is what we want. I mean, these flakes are lovely. Look at that gorgeous color, but that's not what I want. I want a powder. So let's throw these in the oven. Let these ride. I'm gonna let these ride for a couple hours. I want every last bit of moisture. I do have parchment underneath it, okay? I want every little last piece of moisture to be expelled so that when I put it in the coffee grinder, it'll turn into a powder, okay? I think I've said that about 12 times. So just in case you're not clear, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so fingers crossed for me right now, please. I really appreciate it. Okay, welcome back. Now I have put all of my little tomato flakes in the oven. They were in for about a couple hours, and they actually do feel a lot drier. So I'm very pleased about that. We're going to now give this a go. Let's see how this works. I'm really hopeful that this will be a success. I'm only gonna put a little in, and we'll see. I'm gonna actually grab a plate here. Okay, so here we go. Fingers crossed. I really, really hope this works. All right, moment of truth. Okay. Oops, I just poured some out. It is getting, okay. It is getting more powdery. So I think we're on the right track here. I'm gonna give it another whiz with this, and see if it does anything to improve, get that powderyness that I'm looking for. Okay. Oh, yes. Now there's still a little bit of bigger chunks in here. Okay, but I know that this is now breaking down into a powder. Here, let me move this over. Okay, I'm just gonna do a little sprinkle. It's definitely much finer than it was before. I'm going to give it one more go. And see if that will bring it down even into a finer powder-like substance. Here we go. Well, I'm definitely getting powder all over the place. So yeah, I think we're good, my friends. Very, very excited. All right, yay, it worked. Okay, so I'm gonna take just a clean mason jar and I'm just gonna use that canning funnel and put all this precious, precious powder in the jar. Okay, I'm gonna get through the rest of this off camera, and then I'm gonna show you what it looks like when I'm all done. Hip, hip, hooray. All right, all done. And out of all of those peels, that big container of tomato skin, I got 8 ounces or 1 cup of lovely tomato powder. Wonderful. You can use this in soups, stews, stocks, all sorts of wonderful stuff. Like I said, you could add a little water to create a tomato paste. Lovely. Now that this is processed, I have it in this jar. The shelf life is, they say, about a year. So that's great. I know that I'm not going to be blasting through this, although I can't really say that. Who knows? I mean, it may, elevate lots of things that I'm making, so I may blow, breeze through this really, really fast. But I'm just thrilled to bits, however, that I was able to do something with all of the leftover peels from all the tomatoes that I have canned. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I still have more tomatoes to go. So now that I've kind of worked through with you guys all of the intricacies of making your own tomato powder, next time is not going to be as difficult as, well, it wasn't really difficult at all. So anyways, so once again, to Nancy, thank you so much for your lovely gift and of course for leaving the suggestion to make tomato powder. The less waste from any food that I grow, the better. So that's it for me, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, thumbs up, and yes, leave those comments because they do come in handy. I'll see you all really, really soon. So long.